is Miss Kate again. We are on page 89 in your student book, New Interchange. This lesson is using modals again to talk about the past again, but this time we are going to use modals to express a judgment or a suggestion. So let's start by looking at the book here. Now, judging past actions. Do you remember when we judged ourselves, when we used should have or should not have to express regret? Well, this is kind of the same meaning, but instead of expressing personal regret, if you basically express that somebody else should have done something, you are judging them, and it's for the past. So if you talk about yourself, it's a regret, and if you talk about someone else, it's a judgment. So that's what this is. So look at the examples. You should have called her on the phone. Okay, again, this is a judgment about the past. Modal plus have plus past participle. You can use the negative as well. She shouldn't have kept your notes this long. Okay, there's your negative, shouldn't. Now, this next part is a little different. So instead of judging over here, it says suggesting alternative past actions. Let me show you my own information about that to make this clearer. Okay, so at the top here is what I just told you about judging somebody using should have or should not have. You walked home. Why? You should have called me. That's why I'm judging you. You should have called me. Now, if I want to, so that's a judgment because I'm telling you one specific thing I think you should have done. One thing. But if I hear that something happened in the past and I have a different idea for what could have happened, and it wasn't just one thing, just one idea of many or multiple, I'm going to use could have. Okay, so that means that says suggest an alternative past action. So again, not just one thing, but one of many possibilities. So you would use could have plus past participle, or just make a contraction could have. Okay, so let me just make sure you remember your past participle. Okay, so again, the example, you walked home. Why? You could have called me, or you could have taken the bus. Okay, so I'm mentioning more than one possibility, more than one option for the past action, and that's why I'm using could instead of should. Okay, that's just when you have multiple options, you use could. If you think there was only one other choice for the past, you use should. Okay, now if you want to tell somebody what you personally would have done instead of them, so when you're using I, when you're talking about yourself, then you're going to use would, okay, or the negative wouldn't. With have, of course, because we're talking about the past, and then past participle. Participle. Okay, so again, the situation, you walked home? I wouldn't have walked home at night by myself. Okay, so I'm telling you what my choice would have been, and therefore I need to use the modal would or would not. So you only use that with I. Okay, so now if we go back to the book, here are those examples. Okay, it says, I don't think you can see all of this, but in the book, page 89, suggesting alternative past actions, you could have been more understanding. I wouldn't have lent them to her. Okay, so remember, if you are telling someone else what they should have done, you're going to use could have if it's one of multiple options. And if you're talking about yourself, you're going to use would have or wouldn't have. Okay? All right, that's the lesson for page 89.